Right, welcome everybody to the In Conversation series, the BTM Club, of course. And I have been told I am bringing it to you. And again, I am doing that. Today we have some great British talent. Her name is Her Royal Highness, and I've been since informed that her initials are actually HMS. I didn't know that. Her Royal Highness Heather Smalls, formerly of M People. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Barrie. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Complete pleasure. And
lovely
look,
to see
when you do that smile, look at that smile.
I know I've got a lot of teeth. I know people always say
you
that.
And me both. You and me both. But it makes for a good smile.
How have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. It's been challenging at times. You know, I'm a creative. I love to perform live. There's not been any live work. I've been lucky that I've been able to occupy myself with charitable works, and I've been writing a script. I did have a gig, not last Friday. So that was I say last Friday. I don't know when you can send this out, but it was mid-May, and it was a revelation. I just, you know, it's what I love.
I'm sure it must be such a strange feeling after, even though you're accustomed to performing all these years, having not performed at all for a whole year. It must have been quite a nerve-wracking experience to go back out. It was
nerve-wracking, Barrie. Absolutely nerve-wracking. I haven't performed for a year and a half, and anyone who knows me knows I am a nervous performer. My standards are really high. I expect a lot from myself. So honestly, I thought I was going to throw up on the corner of the stage. It was that bad. But when I get out there, have my mic, and you know, I stride onto stage, I feel to myself, yeah, this is what I was born to do.
This is what you were born to do.
But up until that time, oh, it's nerve-wracking. It truly is. But like I say, you know, without any nerves, then I care. I care a lot, and I want it to be the best I can possibly be. So and it was fun. And you know, I was told that people were crying. And not because I was so bad, but because it was emotional. You know, some people hadn't been out of their house.
Are you sure they were crying for the right reason?
Crying from joy, man. Crying from joy.
Because they were emotional, not because they were being tortured.
No. Have you ever seen any of my live gigs tortured?
You know, I have been fortunate enough to see you live on more than one occasion.
Yes, and it's a joyous thing.
You speak of being a nervous performer, but believe me, when you are on that stage, there is absolutely no sign of that whatsoever.
I love it when I'm there. And I think people were just emotional. For some people, it was the first time they've gone out and been amongst people in a year. I mean,
yes,
you know,
I think really there's definitely sensation. That thing of the psychological damage that has been over the last year of people being locked away. They're now literally afraid of other people.
Listen,
you know,
and people's mental well-being. People's mental well-being. Yeah. You know, it's even not that they're afraid of other people. They're afraid of something that's out there that they can't see that could kill them. And then, you know, and like you say, they are afraid of other people because you think to yourself, can that person be the person that will harm me and put me in hospital? So, you know, everything that we think of as being human, touching, feeling, expressing, being very social, we've been told not to do for almost a year and a half. And
everything you do that for any length of time and human.
You start to learn new behaviors, and people have learned new behaviors, and new behaviors is you don't touch, you don't hug, you don't fraternize. And so, you know, how long it will take for people, I think the younger the people are, you know, the more, I think maybe the easier it is for them to get back to what we would say is usual practice.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think the younger generation have handled it slightly differently from the older generation. And definitely the emergence from lockdown, the youngsters are eager to get out there, whereas the more mature are slightly more reticent as regards to going out there.
And having said that, you know, when you were saying about mental well-being, this is I think one of the legacies of lockdown, that people's mental well-being and you know, having to speak to people about that and having to go for professional help, I think that will increase regardless of age. And I think that if you need help, you have to go out there and seek it.
Yeah, but the problem is some people, I think, is that they don't even realize they need help. They don't even know how to go about seeking help. And some people are embarrassed, you know, especially men, because it's not considered the manly thing to be emotional or to feel nervous, threatened, worried,
or
you
to
know,
speak about your feelings.
Get on with it. So, you know, that's the problem in society and in the community, particularly, that men are not encouraged to express their feelings or their fears.
Well, and I think, you know, because I've been talking about mental well-being, and my sister has bipolar. So for me, it was even a greater worry lockdown, because my sister already has a condition, and somebody who has a condition already going into lockdown and feeding a certain kind of narrative and paranoia, you do worry. But I think that lots of people have been talking about the fact that you do need to talk, and that there's certain behaviors that happen that don't feel usual and don't feel like your usual self, then you should seek help. And it's not unmanly. It's not and there's a certain type of strength to saying you need help.
Yes.
And you know, and
I think
it's
that's
allowed.
the attitude
and it's allowed.
That needs to be promoted. The fact that it takes strength to actually admit and acknowledge openly that you need help. So really and truly,
sorry, Barrie, you're I'm so sorry, Barrie, but you're cutting out.
Yes, you'd frozen there.
Pixelating and
you froze there.
Am I back?
Yeah. So it's good to see you emerging from lockdown, looking so slender and lean and like a gazelle, because
like a gazelle. You know what? This is what I say. There's two camps, Barrie. You know, you put on the lockdown pounds or you got super fit. But I'm not judging. Whatever gets you through, because it has been difficult. And if, you know, some extra food helped the process, then extra food it is. I mean, I've always liked to look after myself. And as well, I've been doing a lot of cardio because I'm asthmatic. And, you know, it is a condition that affects the lungs. So I've been super vigilant. And also, I'm just ready. If anybody says to me, Heather, we need you to sing, I'm match fit. I'm match fit, Barrie, and I'm ready.
Yeah, and I mean, no surprises. Obviously is useful for you in your performing your job. You know, you're up and down, you're singing, you're moving. It's you know, you need to maintain a certain level of fitness there too.
Yeah, it's quite physical. It is quite physical when I'm on stage. Definitely, I love to jump around. I like to whip the crowd into a frenzy, and I like to join the crowd in that frenzy. Yeah. So you know, you have to be quite.
I'm very proud of you that your fridge wasn't your best friend, as most people's were during lockdown, but clearly that's not the case for you.
There is no shame in your fridge being your best friend, Barrie. Listen, I'm not going to shame anybody.
TV were most people's best friend. Clearly, you were on the running track. Okay, let's move on.
I brought myself an exercise bike just before lockdown. I knew it was coming, but you know, it wasn't like a flash one. It's just, you know, one that, you know, it's not flash at all. You just get on your pedal.
That's the thing. None of it has to be flash. None of it has to be gym membership. You can just go and do fitness stuff with your own body weight to keep healthy and fit. So it's not about flash or expensive. So, of course, I have invited you here to hear the Heather Margarita Small, as in HMS, his story. How did it all start for you, young lady? I know you're a West Londoner.
Yes, I'm born and bred in West London, and I grew up the Ladbroke Grove area. I was born in Paddington Hospital, and I don't live too far. I've stayed so typically London. I've stayed in West London my entire life. So my parents are from Barbados. So my parents were immigrants who came over in the 60s, and you know, when the motherland made the call for help, but didn't tell the motherland made the call, but didn't bother to tell the inhabitants of the motherland that they'd made the call. You know, so our parents came over to not the best of welcomes, but you know, they toughed it out. They came to do a job. They worked hard, and I am a product of that hard work. I grew up on a council estate, and I always wanted to sing. I always wanted to sing. I was quite a shy child, but I used to sing with my friends in the playground and any opportunity that I got. I also liked to dance, and I had a dance teacher who said to me, you know, there's this new studios, and there's this great woman. It was Arlene Phillips, and she said, go along and audition. I was just way too shy, and I was still at school. I was like, that's not happening. But I thought, I can't let a second opportunity pass me by. I've got a creative heart, I've got a creative soul, and I really wanted to nurture that. But, you know, unfortunately for me, it wasn't nurtured at school. Like a lot of young people, a lot of people at the time who were young, and at the time that I was young, we didn't really get much help from school and people in authority.
Yeah, because I always say, when I look at the competitions that are out now, Britain's Got Talent, Next Top Model, dancing competitions, I think if they were around in our times, we would have all been stars, because there was so much talent.
I'm not so sure, because, you know, there was new faces. We did get Patti Boulay from that, I think.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, there's a proliferation now of talent, but it's of talent contests and competitions and stuff. But we still have to see who's been promoted in those competitions. We still have to see who are the winners and who do well out of those competitions. I think that if it's in your heart, you'll always pursue it, and you'll find a way. And sometimes the way is not easy. Sometimes it's difficult.
It never is.
No, it's, you know, and whatever you look like, it can be a challenge. Especially, you know, add to the mix, I was working class. And so I'm working class, I'm black, I'm female, and I grew up on a council estate. You know, none of the people that I came into contact with in authority or who were supposed to be on my side thought that I was star material, or that I was going to do anything that was going to be other than something that they wanted to foister upon me. But I wasn't having it.
I think that's really important. And most of the scenarios that I've heard have been similar. That the people that you were looking to inspire or encourage you, number one, didn't look like you, and number two, didn't really think that you had much potential to be anything, you know, with any greatness.
Yeah, so and therein lies the problem.
Come on, you know, you can do this. You know, at least try. They were saying, you know, don't bother to try. I don't want you to be disappointed. You know, you'll never be.
It wasn't even so much that they didn't say to you not to try, or they didn't want you to be disappointed. They just didn't think you were capable. And that's a bigger problem. That's a bigger problem. If somebody thinks maybe you are, even if they've had an inkling that you had something, and they thought that they didn't want you to be disappointed, that'd be one thing. But that they thought that you were not talented in any shape, form, or fashion, that they didn't think that you had the potential. You know, this is what we were fighting as young people in the 60s and 70s, that you were, there was stereotypes. Absolutely. And it was very, very negative. And that's fact. That's fact. And if you succeeded in any way, it was in spite of, not because of. And like you say, the story is so prevalent. You know, my story is the story of many who look like me and grew up in situations like me in the West, as a person of color and person of African descent, be African on the actual continent or African the diaspora. We were undermined and undervalued, and so you in a situation where you're always trying to play catch up, where you have to find a way to find value in yourself in those settings. And of course you're valued at home, but home life is a small part of life when you're a child. Your biggest part of life is at school. And if school is not a friendly, safe environment, you know, you become something other than you are. And by the time I was 13, I was being told that I could be expelled. And I wasn't a bad child or anything like that. And I was quite bright. But day in, day out, being faced with the racism that I faced, that came not just from the children, but endorsed and encouraged by the teachers. It was a hard road. It was a hard road.
Yeah,
it was tough.
That is a torturous environment to have to be in, day out.
Yeah, it's toxic. And I know people, you know, my memory is poor, but those childhood memories, they're with me for life. And it's not a matter of having a chip on your shoulder or anything like that, because, you know, I've been outwardly to anybody, I've succeeded, but it's the inward self. It's the inward self that you have to work on and make sure that is nurtured.
Well, I think your strength and most people that succeed, as you say, the strength is they've persevered and succeeded in spite of the damage and the hurt and the bad experience
and the hurt and the disappointment. Yeah. Because you have to, and what you do is, as you go along, you fix yourself, and you find people that help you fix self. You know, my mother is a great role model, hardworking, strong, quiet, but quietly determined Black woman, carried with me to this day, you know, and that's what I had friends, and my friends at school, they looked like me, and some didn't look like me, some Asian, they're Sri Lankan, but they all had that sense of being othered, and we gravitated towards each other and gave each other the strength to navigate school.
So that was the common denominator, that being made to feel like other.
And different. And so, you know, I bring up my son to know that other and different can be compelling and exciting and a total plus.
Yeah. So you said from the youngest age, you thought you always wanted to sing. When did that start? Definitely. What age was that?
I think maybe about 8, 9. And I used to sing in the playground, you know, and I used to sing at home. I did the whole thing, you know, the hairbrush, the aerosol can. We've all been there, you know, the jumper on my head that was my hair that I tossed as I was on stage. Yes. You know, we've all been there.
Listen,
you know,
at some point we've all been Michael Jackson, we've all been Diana Ross, we've all been Donny Osmond, we've all been David Cassidy. You know what I mean? Come on. and
there is absolutely and that was the thing, especially if you grew up in the 70s, you've gone from David Bowie, David Cassidy to Isaac Hayes, to, you know, it's everybody. Anybody that was fantastic, you know, Bob Marley, anybody that was fantastic and was making music and was making you feel that excitement and giving you that strength and that power to say, yeah, this is what I want to do. I looked up to them. I looked up to them. You know, I liked a bit of Susie Quattro.
I have been known to be Starsky and Hutch.
Okay. No! I was always the one who had the dark hair, the dark curly hair, and the brown eyes. You know, I was always going to gravitate. Yeah, I was always going to gravitate to Starsky.
Absolutely.
I was never that Hutch. I used to wonder. I was like, oh my goodness, is that the one that people think is the most handsome? I was like, no, it's got to be the curly haired one, isn't it?
That's right, Starsky. Brilliant. So you said you wanted to sing. When did you actually start to pursue it?
Not until I was 18. Right. I answered an ad in the Melody Maker, which is defunct. We moved on. Don't have
Melody Maker.
The Melody Maker.
Can I just say, I'm not old enough to remember this, okay? I've heard this name.
But but the funny thing is I saw a flick of recognition in those eyes. You're a good actor.
We'll edit that bit. That bit will end up on the cutting room floor, okay? Melody Maker. So tell us about Melody Maker.
Melody Maker was a music magazine, and it came out once a week, and it came out on a Friday, and I used to always go to the library because I didn't buy it so cheap. That's, I mean, I needed those shekels for sweets and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I needed it for my lady bits. Oh God, I did love sweets. What are you talking about, man? And so so I needed that money for sweets and records. So no, I wasn't going to buy the magazine, but I went to the library. And my friends used to laugh at me because I was so shy. They said, Heather, you'll never answer an ad. And I saw one ad and I said to them, when I see it, I'll know it and I will answer it. And this ad had anyone who's influenced by Aretha Franklin, who are the heroes, but it also said Gladys Knight. And people didn't talk that much about Gladys Knight in this country. And I absolutely love Gladys Knight. She is one of the reasons that I sing. Gladys Knight and Joan Armatrading. And so when I saw that, I thought, oh, these are people that understand about voices. So I answered that ad. I went along, and it was two guys who, two very white middle-class guys, one of which was living on the 14th floor, just like myself, on a council estate. And so I thought, oh, it's fate. 14th floor, just like me. I went along. They loved my voice. I was so nervous. My hands were shaking. My knees were jumping. And you could hear the paper rustling because at that time, it was tape. It was 8-track tape.
Once again, I have no idea what.
I know you have no idea, but that's why I'm informing you and enlightening you, Barrie.
Thank you so much.
I know you're appreciative. I know you're appreciative.
Great.
We don't want you in ignorance,
Exactly.
So they liked my voice. They loved the sound of my voice. I had no technique because I had sung nowhere before, and so that was my first band, and we were called Hot House, and I was with them for a while, and we got our first deal was a publishing deal.
Right.
And then we got a record deal with BMG. It took a few years. I was by the time I signed my first deal, so I'd gone from 8, I was 21. 21, I thought the world will know my name. I shall set this place on fire. And then I was dropped by the age of 24, 25. By the time they'd had enough of us, and they were like, it would be cheaper to pay you off than to release any more singles or
Really.
So that was my rude awakening to how cold the record industry
is.
It was a harsh lesson, but it was done early enough for me to learn the lesson and to work with it for the entirety of my career.
But it's brilliant that you say that, though, because that coldness, of course, is always there. And I think when you're young and you're in the space of, I want a record deal, whether it be publishing, whatever, you're not thinking of it in terms of the record company are signing you because it's business. Yeah. This is business. And it is
you've
what
got to make
you
the distinction,
make,
Barrie, between the record industry as business and as music makers, artists.
Yeah.
It's different.
Completely different. And they only take you on because of what they think that you can make for
your
them.
Your potential for making money.
It's not because they think you're sweet and I want to give her a break. You know what I mean?
And when you come in my packaging, you better be you got to be able to deliver. And this is what I found out very early as well. It's
great that you experienced it early enough for you to use it as experience and not damage you such that you couldn't recover.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, because you don't know at the time if you're going to recover. You just don't know, because I did lick my wounds for a while there. And a friend of mine said to me, don't worry, Heather, you're not finished yet. And, you hold on to that glimmer of hope. And the band that I was in first, Hot House, we had the same management as M People. And they always liked my voice. And they said to my managers, if she ever leaves or she ever wants to do something different, please let her know that we'd love to work with her. And so when I left, I hadn't left yet, but my managers had said to me, if you do leave, they're thinking of, they have 2 songs that they would love for you. Yeah, they'd love to work with you. Yeah. They've said they've got a couple of songs already. And when you're ready, they'll be happy to go into the studio with you. And so I left Hot House because they were going to go and do some country, and I wasn't into that. And I went and I joined M People. I did the 2 songs.
Now,
and never
I
left.
want to back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
When you decided, yes, music is my career, I want to be a singer.
Mm-hmm.
How was that received by your parents?
Well, I know the lay of the land well enough, especially Caribbean parents.
Exactly.
About saying you're going to make music your livelihood. So I always said I wanted to sing, but I was practical with it. I mean, I had a Saturday job when I was 13. So I've always worked. I've always tried to bank some money. And so I knew that I wasn't in a position whereby my family would be able to bankroll me while I pursued music and had no money. So I knew that I would have to work at the same time. So I was always quite practical. So it wasn't received my father was never that supportive, but my mother, because she knew who I was, she was always, my mother and my sister, and I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be a singer now if it wasn't for those two women. Definitely not. I mean, everything that I vary, and you just what you need. You need whatever your endeavor, whatever you want to do in life. You need some people that are on your side.
Absolutely, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be your family. It can be friends outside, but you need somebody that
exactly, because like I said, my father wasn't supportive. And in the end, the relationship with my father became dysfunctional. But with my mother and my sister, I've always had that love and support. And that's what I say to young people. It might not come from your immediate family. It might not, because, all sorts of things happen within a family. And sometimes they're not the person that's on your side. And sometimes it could be a teacher. Sometimes it could be somebody else's family. Sometimes it's the family that you make, especially when people, you're talking about music, or you're talking about any way that you live your life that's not seen to be the usual in a community, and you find that you can be ostracized for any reason. You've got to find your tribe. You've got to find the people that say, you know what, you are great.
And I always say that, of course, family are wonderful. And if you're fortunate enough to have a wonderful family, as I do, I always have to put my hands up.
And like me, with my mother and my sister and some of my other cousins.
But, family are not people that you choose. They are chosen for you and given to you. And it's not necessarily that they would be people that you
and sometimes they're not the right fit.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not the right fit. And, and
it's lovely that your parent, your mother and your sister, as you say, have always supported you. And I've had the honor of meeting both of them. And they're still supporting you to this day. Going to your gigs.
We are the three musketeers.
Yeah,
I don't move without them. They don't move without me. I mean, if I have to make a decision, I will consult them. They might not always say what I want them to hear.
That's what it's about, though.
But that's good, because I'm never in a position whereby I've climbed so high that I can't be told. Yeah. And you have to understand that and that's the thing. So when somebody does tell you things that maybe that you don't want to hear, you've got to make sure that those people love you. And so that that they're coming from the right place. They're coming from the right place. For me
personally, I don't think there's anything called constructive criticism. Constructive and criticism, for me, is an oxymoron. They're opposites. But if you're telling me they're giving you advice, that's another thing. So, the people that love you,
because they're not going to be harsh with you. They're not going to be harsh with you.
Advice and give you options to how you might try to do something better.
Exactly, because they're going to come to you. They don't want to flatten you. They want to raise you up. They want to raise you up. So if my mother and my sister say something to me, I know that it's about building me up. It's not about tearing me down.
So when they come to me with something, it's important who the criticism is coming from, because some people can be criticizing you for
with an agenda,
sinister reasons,
with a complete agenda, and it's because they want to manipulate your reaction, your actions, and so you have to, and sometimes you learn that with experience. People, and we're all susceptible to being duped at some stage.
Everybody,
but it's life, and you learn those lessons and you move on.
Keep it moving, absolutely. So we're going to move back to now when you joined M People, because this is the exciting bit. So let's hear.
Well, like I said before, they said if I ever unhappy in my old band, to come along, and they had some songs that they would love me to demo in the studio. And I went along, loved the songs. They sent me the songs. I was able to work on the songs and give them my flavor, my personality. And then we went into the studio. They liked what I did, and I never left. Because
M People was an existing band. It wasn't a band that you all put together.
It was an entity before I joined, because
I see, right.
Mike Pickering, he was the founder, and he was based in the north, in Manchester, and he wanted to have it like a collective.
Okay.
Excuse me. So he wanted to find people that he admired, was talented, and he was a DJ.
Right.
So he knew about beats and stuff, but he also could write songs. So it wasn't just about beats, it was also about melody. It was also, so there was the marrying of beats and melody, and I liked what they were doing. And and like I said, they gave me songs that I was able to just manipulate to my own
and make
voice,
your own.
Make my own.
Because
you have to, as a singer, you have to do that.
For sure, if there's one thing, Heather Small's voice is distinctive. You know, it's not one of those voices that's like anybody else's that I've heard. I mean, it is a very distinctive voice. Is that something that you cultivated, or is that just how your voice is?
I think, you know, your sound is your sound. And I knew when I first started, because I didn't grow up in church in the sense of going to church and singing in church. And not like Misha. You know, Misha sung in church. Misha was very accomplished. I mean, Misha was on the road backing people like at age 15, 16. My girl had skills from a very, very early age. Too much noise. Oh, sorry, I'm doing an interview. I've got workmen in my house. It is out. So like I said before, Misha had skills from a very early age. She was accomplished, and I sung nowhere. I had sung nowhere. I hadn't done anything. There was no way that I could have gone on the road with anyone at 16, 18. I just didn't have the skills. But what I did have when I joined the bands that I joined was a sound, and everybody liked the sound that I made. And so I was reluctant at first to do anything that would change that sound. So I had no vocal lessons or anything. What I did was sung the way that I felt, and just became more
felt
of
natural
myself.
To you.
That's right. Until I was ready to then go to someone and say, you know what, help me now to control this sound. Help me now to expand on this sound and give me more notes and more tools. And so
there was a stage where you went to get professional training to use your instrument to its full potential.
That's right. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I went much later than most singers. So I was already, you know, where some people started in church and some people started with choral groups and stuff like that. And I was very shy. So I didn't want to put myself forward. And the one time at school where I thought to myself, and I've told this story so many times, people must be sick of it. The one time when I thought to myself, that's it. I galvanized myself. I thought, I will get it together. I will join the choir. And I went to the head of music and I said, sir, can I join the choir? And he just looked down his nose at me and said, can you sing? And I thought, I was so shocked and hurt and disappointed. But I thought, you know, I thought to myself, I'll show you. There's lots of people that would never open their mouth again.
Yeah.
So when I felt it was right, I did go and seek out lessons, because for me it's always been about knowing my craft, getting better at what I do. You know, Absolutely. It's good to have some hit records and stuff like that. That gives you longevity, and that keeps you, and you know, that keeps the wolves from the door, Barrie. But I've seen people like Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald. They sung to old age, you know, Aretha Franklin. So I thought to myself, this is what I want for myself. I want to be able to have that instrument, that tool. I want to be able to go out there and, because I love it so much. I enjoy it so very much. So I wanted it into old age. And, you know, so far so good, Barrie.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and the people you mentioned, they were fortunate enough to still have the instrument working to the level and quality and standard that it always did from the beginning to the very end. Exactly. Whereas we all know there's some people who lose the voice. The voice changes with age, and you know, they don't have the same instrument, same sound, same quality, same standard as they did in the beginning.
And I think to myself, I've always been aware of that. And I've always wanted to be able to sing any song that I've sung in my youth, in my older age. And I can without dropping the keys and stuff. But, you know, that's taken work. You know,
I was going to say,
you talked about me.
What work did you have to do to maintain the Heather Smalls vocals now in your 20s that you had?
20s and change. Listen, I'm 56, and trust me, Barry, I am proud of it, because you know what the alternative is? The alternative to growing old isn't an option.
Yeah, well, there we are, I guess. But some people don't like to talk about, you know, they don't like to talk about age and etc. But you know,
because I'm happy with aging. I have a beautiful son, and if I didn't get older, I wouldn't have this son. And now, you know, it's like, now who would have said I'm looking forward to being a grandmother? You know, these are all things to come. God willing. But for me, how I look after myself,
you've lived the life. And still living
I'm
it.
really happy with. And I've got so what I do to look after myself.
To still have the voice now at 56 that you had in your 20s.
I'm asthmatic, so I knew from an early age as well that if I wanted to sing into older age, I would have to look after myself. I'd have to look after my heart. I'd have to look after my lungs. We talked earlier. You know, I was in lockdown. I still kept up my my cardio, without doubt. And I have a little dog, and I walk her relentlessly. So we're out. So I get enough exercise a week. Also, because of being asthmatic, I changed my diet. I've been a vegan for almost 30 years. So I changed my diet because, if not 30 years, because I had days when I was younger where I would have to cancel the studio. A studio is expensive, especially back in the day. You know, nobody, you waste money, you waste time, you waste energy. So I changed my diet and I became a vegan. I didn't want to eat animals anymore because people always say, well, how did you become vegetarian? How did you become vegan? And a friend of a friend, he was having a soiree at his house, and he put on, I don't know if you're going to remember this either, but he put on a video, Barry. I don't know if you know about videos, but he put on a video.
Was it that Betamax thing or VHS? Is it?
Yeah, something like that. VHS. So he put on a video, and the video was about dolphins and how clever they were, and you know how they go around together as family unit and they speak to each other. And I sat there and I was enthralled by this video, and quietly to myself I said, I will never eat another animal again.
Really?
Which, you know, and when I first turned vegan, vegetarian, when I went to the Caribbean, I went to Barbados, and everybody could say, they were like, you don't eat meat? And I was like, everybody like, not even chicken? The diaspora, they love a bit of chicken, Barry. They cannot believe that I don't eat chicken.
I know not of what you speak. Go on.
And Bajans, I mean, they love a bit of pork. They do. So it was.
So they couldn't comprehend that you weren't eating.
Well, I wasn't eating chicken, and I wasn't eating pork. So for me, it came through the fact that I didn't want to eat animals, and I wanted to respect their well-being and their right to roam this earth as well. So but it's helped me. And then somebody that I knew said, well, there was a holistic practitioner, and I said, you know, I was suffering with my asthma, and they said to me, try to go without dairy, and they said try it for 6 weeks, and I went without dairy, and I didn't look back.
Yeah, definitely for me, dairy is not a thing. No, never been a dairy person from a child. So.
Really? So yourself, you just didn't like the taste?
Milk and all of those things, forget it. No, not for me.
Yeah, but I haven't had it for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I've never been a dairy person. So M people at the top of the game. I mean, what was the feeling when you all had your first big single? Because I mean, M people came out and took the stage by storm. I can remember seeing you on all of the, it's the equivalent of those days of the social media platforms now. Do you know what I mean? Like Top of the Pops and all the music shows. What was the feeling for you guys?
I think, you know, we had our first single, which was Colour My Life. And on the back of Colour My Life was How Can I Love You More? And people started playing How Can I Love You More? Because Colour My Life was a gentle song. And people started playing How Can I Love You More? And then we had the remix, and it just... So second single in, we had a hit. And
so what was the choice to not make How Could I Love You More the single? Why was that?
I just, you know, Colour My Life they were the first two songs that I recorded. And Colour My Life, I think, was the first one. So it was just our favorite at the time. It was our favorite, you know.
Oh, I see.
And as well, your working class band, and you have certain endeavors, and Mike was a dance DJ. So I think most probably people thought to themselves, we wanted to show that we could craft a song and that we could deliver a song. And so maybe, you know, sometimes, you know, you have that.
You wanted to show your versatility, really.
Yes. Yeah. But How Can I Love You More? You know, great song. I sing it to this day. And the remix was just, you know, just caught everybody, just took everybody. And it was real fun. It was so much fun. But after having no success, and then second single in, having success, you just do everything to make sure that you keep up with the success. You don't really think, exactly. You don't think to yourself, well, it's been a success and I'm on my way, and you know,
and you just keep back on my laurels.
You just keep your foot on the gas. You just think to yourself, this is fantastic. I'm having so much fun. And we all worked hard. I'm a grafter. I believe in hard work. I believe if you need or want something, that you work for it, and that you do everything within your power to attain it. And no is not an option. No is not an option. It's just
but I mean, you all just literally had hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. There was just no stopping people.
Like I said, you know, we'd all been in bands that hadn't succeeded.
Yeah.
So when you get the opportunity to do something you love, it doesn't feel... We worked hard. I'll be honest with you. We worked hard. Sometimes I'd go from because at the time I was dating my son's father, and from his home to the station was like a 10-15 minute drive. I'd be so tired I'd fall asleep in that drive, but we wanted to sustain it. And not only that, it was exciting. You're young. It's like who gets tired? You know, sleep is for later. So we just and you know, you're creative. The more you write, the more you write. You understand? The more hits you have, the more hits you want. So you just keep it going. And it was you know, at the time I was running around the world with my friends and making music with my friends and having the best of times. And it was a complete and utter dream come true. So you just think about sustaining it. You just think about
about doing what you've got to do to keep it going. Yeah. And keeping that in level of enjoyment for 6 months of the year, then 6 months of the year touring it is, you know.
You know, and it gave me an opportunity to see the world.
Yeah.
I've been everywhere. I went everywhere. Like I said, with at the time my best friends. So it was exciting. It was enjoyable. It was an absolute dream come true.
Yeah, because M People are global. They were big all over the world.
Well, yeah, we did have some hot spots, but you know, if you go around the world and you play the songs, people know the songs. And I've just worked over the last few years to make sure that they know the voice and the name now.
So it was, How Do I Love You More? What was
How Can I Love You More?
What was next?
Oh, I don't know. It might have been Moving On Up, but I don't know. I don't know this. I don't know. What I do is I sing the songs. I love them at the time. And you know, when they come out, then they're not mine as much anymore.
Yeah.
And because you have to give them over and they become the public.
There's so many.
So I know the hits, but chronological order. Oh yeah, it might have been One Night in Heaven first. Yeah. We did have a few.
But I have to say, I have a soft spot for Hero. That's my tune. That's my tune. That belongs to me. When Heather Small sings that, she's singing it to me. I don't care who else is in the room. She's singing it to me. Okay.
And I think, you know, Barry, you've hit the nail on the head. Because when I sing a song, I want people to be moved. I want them to think I am singing it to them in the small piece of their air, and that it is just for them. Because there is certain feelings that I get with certain songs, and I always wanted to be able to translate that to the listener and take the listener on a journey. So for me, if it's a dance tune and it's then we're going to dance and we're going to party, and you're going to feel that we're on a tabletop till the end of the song.
Yeah.
And something like Search for the Hero and Proud, you know, a little bit more introspective. You know, we're gonna be questioning ourselves and trying to find the answer together, you know, for the entire song. And so for me, I take what I do, the craft of what I do, really quite seriously. I love it to this day. I absolutely love it. And I think it is my job to make sure that people understand what I'm trying to say with a song, and then still be able to claim it for themselves. Yeah. You know, and there is an artistry to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So M People were on the crest of a wave for how many years?
It's about 10 years.
Right. Yeah. Somehow it seems longer, and it may be that's because the hits were so great and played endlessly way after M People came to an end. But it seems like they were there much longer than just 10 years.
Yeah, I think like you say, because we were everywhere. We were everywhere for a good while, and we did have quite a few hits. And then I wrote Proud as a solo endeavor, and it was a co-write, and that was my solo album. And I think I've just been singing and making sure that I've been out there. You know, if you go around, especially in the northern towns, you ask them, has Heather Small ever been to your town or anywhere near? They'll all answer yes.
Yeah.
I've just gone out there and sung to the people because that's what I do. Yeah. That's what I love the most. I love live work. And so I think I've just been in the public conscience for a long time. And that's been no accident. I have done that on purpose because I'm a nervous performer as well. And there was a time there where I didn't perform and I thought, this can't be. This is what I love. So I've just gone out there. Every venue I've gone, you know, and I've done a lot of Pride events. I absolutely love, I've always said I want to be the queen of Pride. And I understand, because, you know, I get on that stage and there's lots of people like me who've been disenfranchised, who feel a sense of having to find family somewhere else. And I understand all of that and still having to walk with a crown on your head.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So I get in front of those audiences. I absolutely love it, but I love an audience. And even if an audience is reticent and they don't quite know who I am, by the end of it, it's my job to make you say to yourself, when's her next gig? That's my job.
Brilliant. That is exactly how it should be. And I like how you've said that. Even if you didn't know me in the beginning, you'll know me by the end. And you'll be asking, well, where next are you doing whatever?
Yeah. Well, when are we doing this again? When are we doing this again?
Exactly how it should be. But it's interesting that you say you wrote Proud as a solo for your solo project, but you were still in M People.
Yeah. When I went solo, because we were going to take a break and then reconvene, but things took a different turn. And that didn't happen. Right.
So you just didn't reconvene. Did the band disband, or do M People still do their thing? Or
we're officially disbanded for quite a while now. For quite a while.
Yeah.
I like doing my solo, and as well I can sing the songs whenever I want, to whomever I want. So
well, of course, because even your solo projects, people still go to Heather Small to hear M People.
Oh yeah. And, you know, those are they're part. I help to make them hits. They're part of my legacy. I'm never going to be ashamed of singing those songs. And I've always wanted to be in a position. I went to see Shirley Bassey. You know, you see these great people who've got signature songs. And I thought to myself, if I get one signature song, I will sing for life.
Yeah.
So now I go out and, like you say, Search for the Hero, One Night in Heaven, Proud. I go out and I sing those songs, and that people know them before I start, that people are excited to hear me sing them. And like I said before, I want people to think to themselves, I must see Heather Small sing before she passed. And I always think to myself, I want to sing to as many people before I pass. So it's simpatico. I just love what I do. I love it.
Now, it's interesting because most of the people I've spoken to are solo artists, but some of them are from a group like Chris Jasper with Isley Brothers and Steve Nicol from Loose Ends.
Yes.
And
what a band, Loose Ends. Oh my goodness, they were doing it when we were all dreaming of doing it. Oh my God, trailblazers.
Isley Brothers are just etched in history. I mean, but how did M People come to an end? Because that must be such a sad time. As you say, you're running around the world with your friends having the best of time, and it's just, we're having a constant global party. And then, you know what I mean?
Sometimes, you know what? The music does stop, Barry. And when the music stops and you look around, it's not quite what you expected. It's not quite what it was.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me. It wasn't quite what it was, and I wasn't as happy. And I think to myself that you should not do any endeavor that doesn't leave you elated. And when something feels like it's becoming more of a chore than a joy, it's not for me.
Because that's the interesting thing. It's like you're doing this global party together with your friends and singing songs that you love, and then, well, when does that transition?
It's like a relationship.
Happen?
It's like a relationship.
Yeah.
It's like any relationship.
You can't even necessarily pinpoint when the transition took place from it being a joy to it
but you just know that it's not as joyful. It's not as joyful. And not only that, what I wanted was to do something. I wanted to write something for my own voice and see how I could achieve that. And not everybody was happy about that. And when I saw the level of unhappiness and discontent, for me, it killed something in me. Yeah.
Right.
And I've never really talked about it, but it left me feeling, like I say, it left me feeling sad.
Sad that, the people
it was a revelation, and it wasn't a nice one.
Weren't happy for you to be trying to do something, or the people that you loved, again, your band members, weren't encouraging or happy to see that you were trying to pursue other endeavors, even if it didn't mean necessarily leaving them. You could still have a solo a small career.
Yeah, because other people in the band had done other things.
Yeah.
And that didn't seem to be a problem.
Yeah.
But me doing a solo project was such a problem. It was hurtful.
But I think it's always the way. Diana Ross and the Supremes. And once you yourself...
it doesn't have to. Yeah, but the thing is, it doesn't have to be a drag down fight or acrimonious, or it's just that certain things. Like I say, when it's not when you don't get the same level of joy, and you don't really receive the same. It's like any relationship. If you're not receiving the same level of love, as and it settles into something other, and sometimes the something other can work, but it just couldn't work for me.
Yeah, and I mean, with something that is artistic and creative and out of love, you can't really go and perform with people that you're not loving,
or they ain't loving you. Thing is, as well, because it's a very intimate process. Because sometimes people say, "Oh, you can write a song, they can write a song. They're a great artist, you're a great artist. Go and work with that person." It doesn't always work. Yeah. Because there is a level of intimacy and revealing that you have to do when you write songs and when you go into the studio. It's very personal. It's so personal. And if you're not feeling, and there should be a safety net. There should be a safety net. And if you feel that maybe that safety net's been punctured in any way, you just don't feel as safe, do you?
Well, absolutely, yeah. You have to have a certain feeling of safety, as you put it, and intimacy to be able to be comfortable to perform.
Yeah, and to do your best, and to do your absolute best, to give your absolute all. And if I'm on stage, or if I'm in a recording situation, I have to be giving my absolute all. When I come off stage, I'm exhausted. When I go into the recording booth, I'm exhausted because I've given it absolutely everything.
Everything. And that's what it should be. Left.
Yeah, and I think to myself, I used to be, and I always am quite nervous as a performer before I go on stage beforehand. But when I go on stage now and I get my mic, I've got a confidence because I realize a truism. An audience will forgive absolutely anything except for lack of commitment. Yeah. Commit, be in it. Both feet, all of you, dive in. Because at least if anything goes wrong, everybody can say it wasn't because of a lack of passion, a lack of. I say you want passion, you want, and I think to myself, if you're in a position whereby you can't give of that passion, especially when it's any creative endeavor, making music, painting pictures, whatever it is, if you've got a level of commitment and passion, then it's just a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, we did get a glimpse of that body there when she just stood up to tell them to be quiet in the background because they were making too much noise. We saw the figure there. So the bike in lockdown has definitely worked. The veganism is definitely working. We saw the size 0 jeans. Oh, I'm so mad with her. You've no idea.
I love a size 0. And in our community.
Sorry, I apologize. -0.
Being a size 0 don't give you props in the African community, African Caribbean, African diaspora. Being a size 0 is nothing to brag about.
Size 0 in the Caribbean community is deceased.
Yes, listen, you're finished. You're sick. You're sick.
What happened? What happened? No. So what is in store for Heather now?
Well,
you got your gigs booked?
Yes, I've got some gigs for the summer. Not as much as usual, but something is better than nothing. We're getting out there. We're unlocking slowly, and I'm getting out there to the people. I'm also doing some recording. I've got a new single. I've got some new material, and like I said before, I've got a satirical sitcom that I was writing and working on in lockdown, and that was it. I think to myself, I did find a different way to be creative, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it so much. Yeah, so.
So now, two things here we need to hear more about. Mm-hmm. Number one is the single. Let's hear about the single. Where is it available? Blah, blah, blah. Let's hear.
It should be out later in the year. I've been saying this for a while. So it's not out yet. It's not out yet. But it's uplifting and it's out there and it's something that you will move your feet to. And the sitcom, it's about the absurdities that happen to sometimes being a Black female in this Western society, the things that are said and done. And sometimes, sometimes they're outrageous. Absolutely. And so I just wanted, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter and the racism and we all have our different ways of bringing a truism to breathing life into something. And for me, I found a way to do it because people say to me, you could write protest songs and stuff. And that's not my forte. My forte will always be when it comes to songs. It's about community. It's about us all coming together,
bringing people together.
I found a way of bringing, but my personal experience. I found a way of bringing my personal experience into being through this satirical sitcom. And I've enjoyed the process. I've totally enjoyed the process. And obviously, I'll be doing lots more with the Rio Ferdinand Foundation in its Music Against Racism on that part of the arm of the charity. I've got another charity, Greenhouse, that works with young people. I'll be doing my stuff with Bernardo's, and also Action Break Silence. So that's a platform a charity whereby it's an indomitable woman who started it, Debbie Stephen, and unfortunately she was raped as a child, and it's about gender-based violence and how we tackle that very toxic
So it's great to hear that, as well as you doing your thing as Heather Smalls, having done your thing as with them people, you actually put quite a lot back into the community with a lot of charity work.
I believe in community. I really do believe in community. I believe in the well-being of us all, and that, you know, if my brother or my sister, regardless of what they look like, is hurting, then I'm hurting. If they're struggling, then I'm struggling. And we live in a society that would sometimes demonize us. And I think to myself, what we do is we humanize ourselves. And I find that doing charitable work and making myself useful makes me feel like a human being.
Absolutely. And, you know, to do charity work, it's actually having an empathy towards other people's situations that you haven't necessarily experienced yourself.
Yeah, and sometimes you
empathize with their struggle.
Yeah, exactly, because struggle is struggle. Disadvantage is disadvantage. Unjust and unfair is unjust and unfair. And we all, regardless of what we look like and where we come from and what our background is, we know when something is unfair. We know when something is unjust. Exactly. And we know that there is a time and a place to stand up and do something about it. And that's what binds us together as human beings. And that's what should bind us together.
Wonderful. That is exactly it. Well, I mean, that's the reason I have started this series in conversation, because I always end it with the fact that these are our stories and they need to be told with our perspective. And it's great that your public know a bit more about you, and it humanizes you even further, because, you know, those little nuances about your background growing up, relationships with family, parents, etc., is what humanizes you. And it might inspire somebody out there to say, well, you know what? She grew up in a council estate. She's open about it. She doesn't care, but so I can still do it. She did it. I can do it, or at least try. So,
because the thing is, you know, it's all about, you know, you start in a place, but it's how you embrace your journey. And,
well, as
you know, I used to be very.
It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
It's where you finish. But I think to myself, I used to be quite shy. And I'm not one for really talking about personal things in a public arena. But there's certain things that happen, and people do wonder, because certain people see you. And you know, I said to one young lady, this is years back when I was being interviewed, and I said, oh yeah, I grew up in Ladbroke Grove. She said, oh, did you go to such and such school? She just assumed, she was white middle class and she assumed I was black middle class. Right. She assumed that my experience were the same as hers, because I said, because Ladbroke Grove and Portobello meant a different thing to her than it did to me. And I think sometimes people think that your journey, they don't understand that the journey could be more difficult. The journey could be different. Sometimes not even more difficult, just different. And I think that my journey is different. And so sometimes I have to put my journey out there so that people understand that, like you say, wherever you start, whatever you have or haven't got at the beginning, you acquire skills, you acquire tools, and it's not, and sometimes you acquire funds and sometimes you don't, but you should acquire wisdom.
Yeah,
you know,
from the experiences.
Exactly.
From the experiences.
Take something away, you know, that you can then give to others.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
HMS herself. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for the inspiration. And yes, wishing you all the best with everything that you're doing in the future.
Thanks for having me on.
We will have to do this
company.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the bar and the standard is always
high.
It's always high. But you know, we'll do this again, because most people always say, you know, this is just part one. Because as things moves on in the year and things open up, and you know, you get your play in the West End and the new single coming out towards the end of the year, you know, we will have to speak again and
pleasure.
And hear how the journey is going. So you take absolute care of yourself and that wonderful voice. Continue to shine the light brightly on all of us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.